Could a single dose of ketamine make you more caring and connected? A new study suggests it might. That's what I'm talking about today. I'm Dr. Tracey Marks, a psychiatrist, and I make mental health education videos. Today, we're diving into some fascinating new research about ketamine. And we're not talking about the antidepressant effects this time. We're exploring how ketamine might actually increase empathy and social connection. This could be a game changer for treating conditions where lack of empathy is a core issue, like certain personality disorders. So let's break down this study and talk about what it could mean for the future of mental health treatment. A caveat here. This is cutting-edge research that was just published this month. It's not saying that ketamine is ready to be prescribed as an empathy enhancer, but this study opens up some really intriguing possibilities that I think are worth discussing. So here's the deal. A team of scientists led by Dr. Evan Hess out of the University of Maryland School of Medicine published a study in the American Journal of Psychiatry. They were looking at something called the Entactogen Effects of Ketamine. Entactogens are a class of psychoactive substances known for increasing feelings of empathy, social connectedness, and emotional openness. Another term for it is empathogen. MDMA, also known as ecstasy, is probably the most well-known enactogen or empathogen. But this study suggests that ketamine might have similar effects. The study had two arms, a human study and a rat study. First, the human study. Patients with treatment-resistant depression were asked about their ability to feel pleasure in social situations using a questionnaire called the Snaith-Hamilton Pleasure Scale. The people who received ketamine were more likely to report feeling pleasure from these social interactions for up to a week after the treatment. They enjoyed being with loved ones more. They got more pleasure from seeing people smile. They felt better about helping others, and it felt more rewarding to receive praise. These pro-social empathic feelings persisted for a full week just after a single dose of ketamine. These may seem like small things that would make anyone feel good, but people who are severely depressed can feel so empty that these things give them very little pleasure. Now, the researchers noted that these social benefits weren't independent from ketamine's overall antidepressant effect. So the two are mixed together somewhat. As people's depression lifted, social functioning improved too. But this is still really noteworthy because it suggests that ketamine doesn't just improve mood like some antidepressants do. It may specifically enhance social connectedness and empathy as part of its antidepressant actions. And this could make it uniquely helpful for depressed people who tend to socially withdraw and feel disconnected from others when they get depressed. Now let's look at the rat study because this is where things get really interesting. The researchers used something called the harm aversion task, and here's how it works. Imagine you're a rat and you've been trained that if you press a lever, you get a tasty sugar pellet. But here's the catch. When you press the lever, your cage mate, another rat that you live with, gets a mild electric shock. So now you have to choose. Do you press the lever to get the treat, knowing that it will hurt your friend? Or do you hold back to protect them? This task is thought to measure empathy in rats. If a rat is willing to give up a reward to prevent harm to another rat, we interpret that as empathic behavior. So what happened when they gave the rats ketamine? The ketamine-treated rats demonstrated three things. They pressed the lever less often overall, meaning they delivered fewer shocks to their cage mates. They maintained empathic behavior for longer, up to 6 days after getting ketamine, and they were more likely than the non-ketamine rats to completely avoid pressing the lever during a session. And this is pretty remarkable. We're seeing that a single dose of ketamine made rats more willing to give up a reward in order to protect another rat from harm. And this effect lasted nearly a week. And what's really cool is that the researchers showed that ketamine wasn't just reducing the rats' motivation for sugar. The treated rats still liked and sought sugar just as much as they did before. The key difference was that they were more hesitant to obtain sugar at the cost of suffering to another rat. And again, this points to a pro-social, empathy-inducing effect rather than just a general reward-blunting effect. Now, you might be wondering, why should we care about a bunch of rats getting shocked? How does this relate to human empathy? Well, it turns out that rats are actually a lot more similar to us than you might think, at least when it comes to the basic emotional and social processes. Rats are highly social creatures that form strong bonds with other rats, and they show signs of emotional contagion, meaning they catch the feelings of other rats around them. If a rat sees another rat in distress, it often feels or becomes distressed too. And then rats share about 90% of their genes with humans. And this genetic overlap means that basic biological processes are often similar. And most importantly, rats and humans share many of the same basic brain structures and neurotransmitter systems involved in empathy, social behavior, and emotion. The prefrontal cortex, amygdala, and insula are all key players in the empathy circuit in the human brain and are present in the rat brain too. So while a rat's empathy might not be as complex and layered as a human's, it rests on a similar neural foundation. So by understanding how a drug like ketamine impacts social behavior in the rat brain, we gain clues about how it might work in the human brain. This back and forth between animal and human research is actually how a lot of psychiatric medications get developed. Researchers might notice an interesting brain or behavior change in rats treated with a drug, then do a small pilot study in humans to see if the effect holds up. And if it does, then they move on to bigger clinical trials. So in this case, more research is needed to confirm these initial promising findings. And we need to directly test ketamine in patient populations that specifically struggle with the ability to be in tune with others' emotions. But I believe these results open up a fascinating new avenue for the clinical use of ketamine. Imagine if we had a medication that could help people with antisocial personality disorder develop a stronger sense of empathy, making it easier for them to consider the thoughts and feelings of others. Some individuals on the autism spectrum struggle with cognitive empathy, which is understanding others' emotional states. Imagine if ketamine could unlock their ability to accurately recognize, understand, and respond to the emotional states of others. That kind of insight would be transformative. Now, I don't want to overstate things too much or make them seem like ketamine is a magic empathy pill. Enhancing empathy requires more than just a chemical change in the brain. It takes self-reflection, skills training, and human connection, which therapy or coaching can provide. But I see ketamine as a tool that could make the difficult work of building empathy a bit easier by providing a pro-social boost. It's also important to note that ketamine is still a powerful drug with abuse potential and possible side effects. Even though it's legally used as an anesthetic and used to treat depression, it should only be taken under medical supervision and not as a do-it-yourself empathy enhancer. With all that said, I find this new research incredibly exciting and hopeful. As we continue to explore psychedelic-assisted therapies, I believe we'll discover more ways that these substances can be harnessed to improve mental health and well-being. Increasing our capacity for empathy is an important place to start. But beyond just ketamine, this study points to the importance of looking at social and empathy-related outcomes in psychedelic research more broadly. And as we continue to explore the therapeutic potential of substances like psilocybin, MDMA, and others, we should be paying close attention to how they affect not just individual symptoms, but how people relate to and connect with others. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Does the idea of a medication that could enhance empathy excite you, worry you, a little bit of both? Let me know in the comments. At the time of this recording, MDMA is a month away from an FDA decision on whether it will be approved to treat PTSD. Watch this next video for more on MDMA, also known as ecstasy, and this other one on the negative effects of social isolation. Thanks for watching today. See you next time.